Alright, so it's July 31st today. I am about to head into the woods to put a couple trail cameras out over some signpost rubs. There's an area in here that I've known about for a few years now that just has a bunch of signposts in a small little area, so I'm just looking to learn more about these signposts, trying to figure out when deer hit them. I'm gonna get these trail cameras up, and I'll be back to check them in December. So I got both cameras out. I got one right there that's facing a signpost rub, which is right there. And so that makes two trail cameras out. They're about 100 yards away from each other. Both on signpost rubs. This one's on a single signpost rub, but there's a nice path through here and there's some scrapes too and some other rubs. So it's a good spot. And then the other one that I have 100 yards away or so, that's on like 5 or 6 signpost rubs. So I'm pretty excited to get back here and check these cameras. I'll probably be back like around January 1st, something like that, after the deer hunting season's over. So I'm excited to check them out. I'm not going to check them at all throughout the hunting season because I'm going to use the intel that I get this season to plan for next year. That's the plan, so hopefully you'll be seeing me back here when there's some snow on the ground. All right, well, it's December 31st. Tomorrow is New Year's. And so I figured it'd be a good time to pick up my trail cameras that are over the signpost rubs. So that's what I'm doing today. I got out here pretty late. I had a long drive. Didn't really plan my time very good. So I'm just kind of running here. I'd like to be out of here and while still having some sunlight. And it takes me probably, I don't know, at least an hour there and back. So hopefully we got some good stuff on these cameras. A couple deer beds in there and there. A lot of tracks in here. Seems like the closer I get to my cameras, the more deer sign I see, so that's a good sign. This deer just came through here. This track is super sharp. There's a pretty good sized track right there. It's pretty deep down there, but you can see it. All these super fresh tracks that were made today are probably only 100 yards, 200 yards from my camera, so that's a good sign. There's some deer in here, and probably got some good pictures today even, so I'm gonna go find those cameras, get out of here. There's a signpost right there. Looks like it got hit this year pretty good. It's pretty orange still. And there's my camera right there. Well, good news on the first one. It's still turning on, so hopefully that means it's been taking pictures this whole time, but a lot of weird things happen with trail cameras when you leave them out, so we'll see if it's lasted this whole time, but that's why I've got two cameras out, so hopefully we have just as good as luck with the second one. Well, there's a signpost all shined up right there. Looks good. So that must have been hit this year. Got another one right behind it over here. There's a few more around here somewhere, but No, not there. There's a couple over here, I think. A couple small ones there. Those ones don't look like they were hit very much this year. Definitely more in here somewhere, but those are the two big ones right here. And my cameras, that's where I had my camera facing. And that's right there. And there's all these deer tracks. Nothing huge that I've seen. I'm sure some big ones have been through here. And they're coming, almost walking right down underneath my camera. So I might not have been able to get many shots of them. They really had to be like right at the signpost for me to get a shot. I don't know if we'll see if I was able to get anything coming through here. I was kind of expecting them more to come like up and through there. But anyway, I got it aimed at the important stuff, the signposts. Well, I just took that camera down and not as good news on that one. The batteries died on it, so I'm not sure when it died, but hopefully it got through most of the season. Or even hopefully it got through at least halfway through December. It's got lithium batteries and everything, so I really would have expected them to last through December, but we'll have to see when we get back on the computer. I'm heading back to the car now. Should be out before dark, a little bit before dark, which is good. Next time I see you guys, I'll be back on the computer and we'll be looking at some pictures. So we're back on the computer now. I have my two trail cameras here that you can see. So that camera that ended up shutting off, I looked at it, and I've looked at all these pictures already, so this is like my second time going through all these photos, but it did take pictures until November 15th, which it's not horrible. I'd like to see that at least through November, but at least it didn't shut off like before the rut even started or anything, so that was good. But we'll come back to these pictures in a minute. We're gonna go to the Moultrie camera because that one took a lot more photos. There's actually like almost 600. If I open these up, it's 593. Give that a minute to open up. So you can see the signpost right here. It's kind of being blocked. It's a black ash tree here, and then there's like a little shoot of a black ash growing up through the bottom of that tree there. So it's blocking it a little bit, but you can clearly see where the signpost gets rubbed on. And I'm just going to scroll through these really quick. So we're done with the multi camera. Now we can head over to the Browning cam. This one didn't have nearly as many pictures because I didn't set the camera up right. So it only took 50 photos from July to November, mid-November. Well, from August 1st basically to mid-November. Alright, so here are the signposts. There's one right here. And there's one right here which kind of got cut off. And this one was probably the more important one, unfortunately, but still you should be able to see the head of something that's using it. Well, I guess I'm still setting it up at this point. So that was me. So yeah, you can still kind of see it. But I mean, you'd think either one would be alright. Some movement over here, looks like the back of a hoof. There's a moose. Mama moose. And her calf. Pretty much, I think that's where a lot of deer were traveling. And I didn't get them on camera because the deer are much smaller than these moose. And they just were under the sensor of the camera. And I just couldn't get them on, couldn't get them captured with what the angle was like. Because I think that's where most of the traveling was happening. I thought it was going to happen more like back here. But anyway, we'll keep going through here. It's getting close to the end of October now, which is when you'd expect to see more bucks moving. And you can see just the very tips of deer moving down here. There's a tine. There's looks like a pretty good rack right there in this corner here. So that first tine mark, I'm heading backwards now. That was in first week in November. This big guy here is first week in November still. This guy's mid-November. A little 8-pointer here. And that's all that I have for photos. I feel like the sensor might not have been doing very well at capturing things that far out, but I'm not sure. But yeah, I think a lot kind of snuck underneath this camera, so this isn't really good for too much intel, I don't think. There were quite a few things that I learned from these trail camera photos, and one being that deer were using the signposts not only during the rut, but also like in the summertime and in the winter. They weren't necessarily rubbing their antlers on the signposts, but they were coming in to check them out and at least smell them. That was interesting to know. Another thing that was interesting was that those bigger bucks don't seem to hit those signposts until that last week of October. And I think those bigger bucks were local bucks too. Like I think they were always in the area. Like once they moved from their summer ranges to their fall ranges, I think they were pretty close to those signposts. They just never hit them because they were smarter and they knew to save their energy until the right time to go to the signposts, like when the does are getting closer to being in heat. And the reason why I think this is because, like any deer tracker will tell you, even the first week of November, bucks aren't moving very much. And if we're fortunate enough to get snow in that first week of November, you can spend all day looking for a track and you might not even see one track. So that's why I think that those last week in October bucks, they're not moving very far. They're still somewhere in the general area. They just know when to hit those signposts, and they're just a little bit more strategic when they do it. And that's really good to know, because if you're struggling to find tracks, big tracks during the early part of the season, one of the best things you can do based on these camera photos is to just go visit a bunch of signposts and see if a buck has come by, because they're not moving very far, but they are moving far enough to hit the signposts at that time. So it's a good place to pick up a big track in the early season. But bucks were still using the signposts all throughout the rut, like all out throughout November too, so it's not good for just the early season. It's pretty much good for any time in November. But the buck activity to those signposts were kind of sporadic. If I had to guess, it seemed like it was probably like once a week a nice buck would come by and check out the signpost. I was also surprised about how many night photos I got. I did get some
daylight photos of big bucks, but very few compared to the nighttime photos. And that was kind of surprising because I felt like bucks in the big woods, there's not much hunting pressure and there's a lot of space between deer groups. So I felt like those big bucks would be running from doe group to doe group at all times of the day. And I was kind of surprised to see how many photos were at night of those bigger bucks using the signpost. But I feel like that could just be due to me just having a one trail camera over a one signpost. Like if I had many trail cameras over many signposts, I might start to see the daytime and nighttime photos start to level out a little bit. And then once December came around, bucks weren't really using the signposts anymore. There were deer smelling the signpost just out of curiosity, I think, and just checking them out. I think those signposts just kind of stopped being used for rut activity and more for communication like they were early in the season. So like I've said a few times, I feel like I'm going to need more trail cameras over more signposts in order to make some clear determinations, but I feel like in general these photos have given me a good idea of how bucks are using signposts. I've also written a blog post on this topic, and I've put in all of the photos that were in this video of that one trail camera that had the 600 photos. I'll put all those photos in that blog post, so you could go through all of them at your own speed. You can really look at the time codes and like the time and the date and the moon phase or whatever else you want to look at your own speed and at your own time. So if that's something you want to look at, then I'll leave a link for that in the description below. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you on the next one.